Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mission Dharma. Thank you for managing us, Mary, and being such a good servant to Mission Dharma all these years. Mary is the backbone of Mission Dharma, if you don't know it already. So I invite you to get comfortable. I should introduce myself in case you don't know me. I'm David Lewis. I've been here before, many times, so most of you know me. I'm a student of Howie's, amongst other people, and as always, I'm very honored to be here back at Mission Dharma. I'm just glad we're not at that church, 15th Street Live tonight, because it'd be really cold there. Speaking of which, if any of you are in Northern California and have any pull with the authorities, please tell them to turn the thermostat up. So, as people are signing on, I invite you to get comfortable. Find a comfortable seated position or lying down for some of you, standing if you're feeling particularly sleepy or dopey tonight. You can do standing meditation during the meditation. Whatever works for you. Find a posture that allows you to be both relaxed, which is very important, and alert, which is equally important. Relaxed and alert. Alert to our present moment experience. And breathe. Allow yourself to just settle. Becoming aware of the body. And anything that might be going on with the body. If you're a bit chilly like I am, because I don't have very good heat, your whole body might be kind of tight. It happens when we're cold. And so to the best of your ability, relax, no matter what's going on. If there's any areas of discomfort, perhaps you can relax those on an out breath. And if that discomfort remains, try to accept it. In this moment, it's like this. Opening to your experience. Whatever's going on with the mind and the body. Receiving the breath. Oftentimes I start out my meditation with at least a few minutes of focusing on my breath, as it helps me settle, brings me into my body. And indeed, you can stay there with your breath throughout the whole meditation if you wish. Or after a bit, you may choose to open up your awareness to whatever's happening whatever's most predominant in your experience of mind and your experience of body. Just notice the changing phenomena, the arising and passing of experience. But no matter what kind of meditation you do, see if you can be at ease with your experience, whatever it is. Inviting ease. And inviting curiosity. What's going on right now? Feel free to drop that into your meditation periodically if you would like to this evening. That question, what's going on right now? What is this? We only need to notice, to note it. We don't need to figure out why or where that came from or what it means. Whatever we're experiencing in the moment is like this. And relax. Allowing the mind to settle into the body, just as your body is settled into its seat. Everything coming together in the present moment. And inviting a curiosity into your awareness of your experience. A real wish to know what's happening in the present moment. What's its nature? So continue practicing in whatever manner works best for you. And I'll ring a bell at the end. If the mind has wandered, no worries. That's what minds like to do. Simply notice that that's happened when it happens. You can bring your attention gently back to the breath, to the body. Ground yourself once again in the present moment. Start all over again. What's going on right now? So, I hope whatever your experience was, that it was interesting. I just came off a retreat on Sunday and was a bit reluctant to do so. I would have liked another week, or maybe even a month. But then on my morning walk, that last day of the retreat, I was reminded that the difference between on retreat and off retreat was completely artificial. And that there's no reason why I couldn't just carry on being more mindful, more still, and more present in daily life. So that's my intention. And so far, I kind of feel like I'm still basking in the glow of retreat. One of the practices that I've been focusing on is Dhamma in Pali, which is sometimes defined as discernment. Dhamma has also been translated as investigation, or the practice of examining the nature of reality with curiosity and wisdom, questioning to understand the truth. But this is not an intellectual exercise. The pertinent practice question with Dhammavakaya is, how does this feel in the body? The Buddha was not a philosopher. He did not ponder the meaning of life. The Buddha was more interested in how things work. So this evening, I'd like to explore curiosity, which is an aspect of Dhammavakaya. Unlike many people, what brought me to this practice was not suffering, but curiosity. Early on, it was more about wanting to know or to understand some grand truth, which I later came to understand was a form of craving. But eventually, that craving to know the nature of reality became a much lighter curiosity, just wanting to take an interest in things as they unfold. In Dharma practice, we talk more about curiosity about our own experience rather than curiosity about the world outside. But they are both relevant to practice and related. For example, when we look at the news nowadays with curiosity, we might wonder, what's the nature of this? What's fueling it? And from a Dharma perspective, we might observe that it's all about greed, aversion, and delusion, or the three characteristics. This conclusion is arrived at because we can observe those forces in ourselves as well. What's true inside is true outside. Walt Whitman allegedly said, "Be curious, not judgmental." Our task is to rewire our minds with this practice, letting go of firmly entrenched mental habits and opening ourselves to accepting experience rather than always trying to control it. Therefore, it helps not to assume anything and to question everything. I once saw a bumper sticker that read, "Don't believe everything you think." That seems like pretty useful advice. You may be aware that the primatologist and conservationist Jane Goodall recently died. She was a hero of mine. In fact, when I was young, I wanted to be her. Netflix had a final interview with her in its vault, waiting to be broadcast. And it was made available shortly after she died. You can still access it there. I highly recommend it. It's full of Dharma and wisdom, plus some rather surprising revelations. And the interviewer asked Goodall about the time when she was in her 20s and first ventured alone into the forest in Africa to study chimpanzees. And he noted that she had to sit in the forest and wait for weeks, if not months, for the chimps to recognize and accept her presence. And he asked if she wasn't bored during this period. And she replied something to the effect of, "Well, certainly not. I sat and watched dung beetles doing their thing while I waited. So I became an expert on dung beetles long before I was an authority on chimpanzees." As an aside, I'm going to share something she said. She shared an amusing story about dung beetles. One day she was watching a male dung beetle roll a piece of dung to its burrow, but another male came along and tried to steal it. And while they were fighting over it, a female quietly took charge of the prize and absconded with it while they were fighting. And from this observation, she had the insight about how women get ahead in the world. Of course, she famously went on to do the same thing herself. The academic patriarchy had long professed that humans were the only species that used tools. Jane Goodall proved them all wrong, simply by paying attention. But getting back to the beginning of that story, I appreciated the part where she put aside what she had come to look for and simply paid attention to what was in front of her. When life gives you dung beetles, take an interest in dung beetles. G.K. Chesterton noted that the traveler sees what he sees, while the tourist sees what he has come to see. This is really useful advice in Dharma practice. Let go of trying to make something happen or seeking some special experience, and simply pay attention to what is arising in the moment. That is the ground of wisdom. That attentiveness to the world around us and within us is curiosity. This was one of the most radical propositions of the Buddha, just as much at odds with the orthodoxy of his time as it is for ours. Curiosity for the Buddha was not about pondering the meaning of life, but rather taking an interest in the nature of things, in how things work. Really, it's more a science than a philosophy. Buddhism is. The closest Western philosophy would be phenomenology, I imagine. The Buddha had a radical insight into how we see the world. He understood that the world we observe is filtered first through our unreliable sense doors, and then through our habits of perceiving and our assumptions about what we expect to see. There was a famous experiment about attention called the invisible gorilla that was conducted by researchers. Some of you may know it. At a college basketball game, they instructed the spectators to pay careful attention and count the number of times the players in white shirts passed the ball. Then, they had a person dressed as a gorilla run across the court in the middle of the game. After the game, about half the spectators reported that they had not seen any gorilla. What the Buddha understood is that the world isn't an objective reality. It's created by our minds, the world as we experience it. It may be different for everybody. That gorilla didn't exist for half the audience. So in the suttas, when the Buddha talks about the world, he really means the world as we perceive it. This includes the mind. It may not be what you think it is. This insight is humbling, to say the least. Curiosity starts with the willingness to understand the world through our direct experience rather than conceptually. And once we open ourselves to this new way of seeing, we become curious about what's going on at our six sense doors, rather than thinking about things. It's a simplification of experience that we may not trust if we are addicted to conceptualization, as many of us Westerners are, if we are busy counting the passes. I may be prejudiced, but I think that the people who have the most to teach us about curiosity and clearly seeing the world may be artists and poets, and not Dharma teachers. Alan Watts said, "When we dance, the journey itself is the point. As when we play music, the playing itself is the point." And exactly the same thing is true in meditation. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. The most basic way that the Buddha taught inquiry was by looking directly into experience and seeing what's there. We see the patterns of experience and the nature of the different experiences we have. The nature of anger, or pain, or stress, or joy. Inquiry could take us into our unconscious to see what is actually driving us that we're not aware of. It's how we practice seeing clearly. This is training the mind and heart. It is most easily done in formal, dedicated meditation practice. which is fundamentally just looking within. Eventually, as it becomes a habit of mind, it spills over into daily life. The distinction between meditation and daily life disappears. This, you might say, is one of the goals of our practice, is making that distinction disappear. We just become mindful all the time. It's also the key to overcoming suffering, which is really just our reactivity to ordinary experience. Howie says that you cannot be curious and suffer at the same time. Do you think this is true? Check it out in your own experience, as the Buddha advised. In the Pali language, check it out is ehipassiko. And the Buddha said that all the time. Ehipassiko. See for yourself. Recently, I developed a problematic neurologic condition and was prescribed a rather heavy-duty medication to alleviate it, to try to address it. And this medication came with a lot of annoying side effects, including one of which was irritability. But before I fully researched the side effects, I had started feeling irritable. I was annoyed by jackhammers on the street, and by traffic, by all kinds of little things that I wished would just go away. But once I finally got around to reading the side effects of this medication and found out that irritability was one of them, a light came on over my head and I realized why I was feeling so irritable. And after that, when I noticed that I was feeling irritable, I just acknowledged irritability. It was really helpful to have a drug insert that warned me that I might be feeling irritable. It reminded me that emotional states are not me, not mine. I could blame it on the drug. But I shouldn't have needed that warning label to remind me of this. Because it's true even when it's not caused by medication. Irritability is not me, it's not mine, it's just irritability. I can't blame it on any outside objects, and I shouldn't personalize it. Rather than thinking I'm annoyed at whatever, I can notice with curiosity that irritation is like this. And more often than not, on recognition, that reactivity just dissolves when I acknowledge it. This is Dhammavakaya in action, in everyday life. If some person or a story in the news irritates you, remind yourself that they don't have the power to do that to you. That irritation is generated by you alone. And you can simply let go of it. The Burmese teacher U Tejaniya suggests that whenever you experience doubt, dissatisfaction, tension, frustration, or elation, look at them, examine them, ask questions. What thoughts are in my mind? What's my attitude? This will help you to understand how craving, aversion, and delusion affect you. He says you need patience, interest, and a sense of curiosity to do this. People like Jane Goodall are never bored because they take an interest in whatever is in front of them, even if it's a lowly dung beetle. In her interview, Jane Goodall said that she's never bored. I've found this with many Dharma practitioners as well. When we learn to take an interest in our own mental experience, including our irritability, our anxiety, our worry, or yes, even our joy, we will never be bored. Because boredom, you see, is just the flip side of tranquility. If nothing much is going on and you want something to be happening, you will be bored. But if, on the other hand, nothing much is going on and you accept your experience exactly as it is, you will be tranquil. Same circumstances, different response. So practice like a naturalist. The mind is an endless source of fascinating phenomena, as is the world. The most important lesson that inquiry into our experience reveals is insight into the three characteristics of existence. As I already mentioned, the nature of dukkha, or unreliability, the nature of impermanence, and the impersonal nature of all these passing phenomena. This is no small thing, and it doesn't happen in a single flash of insight. In the irritability experience that I described, I saw the dukkha, which was irritability. I noticed its changing nature, and I realized that it's not personal. It's not me or mine. These insights are constantly unfolding and will continue to for the rest of my conscious life. It's a never-ending exploration. They are small moments of awakening that motivate my practice every day because they might make life easier and more interesting. Insights make mindfulness practice interesting and joyful, and they mature into wisdom. U Tejaniya says, as long as you find joy and interest in the practice, you're doing fine. So this is how we overcome suffering. By seeing its nature, recognizing its causes, which presents the opportunity to let go and free ourselves from those habitual patterns of mind that hold us back. When we are curious, the Four Noble Truths are directly experienced. Instead of asking, what's the meaning of life, or who am I, we ask, what's going on? And what are the causes and conditions that led to this? We Call this right effort on the Eightfold Path. Recognizing what is happening in the present moment and noticing whether it causes suffering or freedom of suffering. If it causes suffering or stress, we are probably attached to wanting things to be other than they are. And we have the opportunity to let go of that attachment. If, on the other hand, it leads to freedom from suffering, well-being arises, and we can cultivate that. This is our practice, rooted in curiosity. When we're curious, there's a willingness to explore even difficult experiences. This makes practice interesting. You'll want to keep on practicing. Interest generates energy, which is yet another awakening factor, along with investigation and tranquility, all of them awakening factors. Things that lead to awakening. And just to whet your appetite, what comes after that is joy. Another awakening factor. Curiosity is always interested in what the mind is doing. I have a Dharma friend who likes to exclaim, "Look what the mind is doing," with a sense of wonder and amusement, like it's a cute dog doing a trick. Look what the mind is doing. What the mind is doing in any given moment may be appalling, but if we are curious about it, it loses its ouch. Mindfulness draws attention to the fact that life and the mind are pretty interesting all of the time. This is where peace becomes possible. Not in eliminating thoughts or feelings, but in observing them with curiosity and a light touch. Noticing their changing nature. If awareness is present, wisdom is present. I'm taking liberties by paraphrasing Krishnamurti, who said, "To be curious means we care, which means we really love." Curiosity is the most basic form of love. By paying attention, we let ourselves be touched by life, and our hearts naturally become more open and engaged. So this is the advice that we try to build into every basic meditation instruction that we offer. So I'll end with a pertinent instruction by Ajahn Chah, one of the founders of our modern tradition, who invites us to try to be mindful and let things take their natural course. Then your mind will become like a still clear forest pool. You will see many wonderful and strange things come and go, but you will be still. Problems will arise, and you will see through them immediately. This is the happiness of the Buddha. So, thank you for your kind attention. Those are my reflections on curiosity and practice. And I'm curious to see if, to hear any reflections you might have. And maybe any questions if you have any that came up from the talk. Anybody have anything bubble up in consciousness? Jeffrey, please.
Just quieted my inner critic again. It's always saying things aren't going right. Thank you for quieting him. Wow,
I didn't do that, Jeffrey. You did.
I did it. Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
quieted your inner critic. Not you or yours, that inner critic. That's just a habit of mind. Maureen, please. You're muted, Maureen.
I was thinking how often I'm paying attention and curious and investigating, and I start looking for solutions to make the problem go away. Like it sort of seems that a trap I get into. Instead of just observing for the sake of observing, I become caught up in the problem solving, you know. So it was an interesting observation. I see the difference.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, that's that you can simplify your experience. Just skip that looking for solutions part. Um, I have a friend that said the same thing recently. We were talking about a similar topic, and she said, "Oh, I'm always looking for the meaning of things." She said, I always want to know what this means." And um, I said, "Yeah, you don't really need to be doing that. That's that's a thing that we Westerners are very inclined to do." Because we're cognizers, and we learn by reading books and listening to teachers, and that's the way our whole education has gone forward. So teaching ourselves to simply pay attention to experience seems kind of foreign to us, and it's hard to see that wisdom can arise from that, but it can if you try. Laura, please. You are also muted.
There we go. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Hi, everyone. This is my first time on this. I just want to thank you very much, David, for your intentions and your being, your presence, and your talk. It's greatly appreciated. And I just want to take one note of something that I really loved tonight was when you helped us to label, identify irritation. So it helps our mind go from being irritation to identifying it as another entity. So then we can observe it. So then we are not it.
Yep, you
Yeah.
got it, Laura. Thank you. That you said it very well.
Yeah.
And welcome. I'm glad. I'm so happy that you're with us this evening.
Yeah. We're friends.
I'm Laura, she's Sarah, but yes, thank you. I've
Oh,
been here a
okay.
long time.
Okay, got it. Well, thanks to both of you. Yeah, it really helps to label things, um, and it kind of depersonalizes to label things. So that's a really useful practice. I invite you to all give it a try. Linda, hi, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm really nice to be here. Thank you so much for your talk, David, and nice to see the familiar faces and some faces I don't know. Lately, I've been having an experience of craving a certain experience, and I feel like I'm seeing pretty clearly, oh, I'm craving this, and I'm having these imaginings about how great this thing would be, and I could feel what's happening in my body, which is mainly kind of a little clenching in my stomach and truly just kind of an anxiety. And you were talking about how, oh, when we see clearly that this or that is happening, then we can let it go. But I find that I'm kind of stuck between the, oh, I see what's happening and I feel it in my body and I can feel that it's kind of yucky. And I know that, nothing is going to bring permanent happiness, even if I could get my hands on this thing. And yet I am not really finding the letting go exactly happening. And so I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, great question. And Linda, it's so great to see you. I haven't seen you in ages. So it really makes me happy that you're here. But yeah, great question. Yeah, letting go doesn't always work. It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't always just kind of slough off as easily as I might have suggested that it did. And when it doesn't, we just sit with what's going on and say, oh, okay, well, it's like this. And one of the things that's universal about the nature of phenomena that we know from our experience is that everything changes eventually. So if it doesn't let go, if something that you kind of want to let go of doesn't go away on command, you can probably trust that it will eventually. But in the meantime, just pay attention to how it feels, especially in the body, as you were describing. Notice how it feels in the body and notice how and whether it changes when it does, because it will eventually.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe I'm confusing letting go, or there's a little overlap between letting go and aversion. Like I want this yucky craving to go away, like preferably 5 minutes ago. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned from Howie is that letting go is kind of a loaded statement, and that sometimes it's better to say letting be. We're not trying to get rid of something. We're just kind of letting it be and seeing what happens. So thanks, Linda. And Mary Gold has a hand up. Mary, please.
Hi, I was just thinking of the things you were saying that it's kind of, I think, we just have a tendency to be, solving problems and making lists and, that kind of stuff all the time. And I always love it when Howie says, don't do anything, you have nothing you need to do, just like stop. But I was just thinking on your talk, but it is actually when we are just present, and we're just there, and kind of let go of that and get into that state of mind of just calming down and being present, that things get clearer actually without us doing anything. It's very counterintuitive to our Western nature, but I think it's good. I need to remind myself of that more often. I think it happens sort of naturally when we meditate, but still, it's good to kind of see it as it is too.
Yeah, well, you said it very beautifully. It seems counterintuitive to our Western way of learning and thinking. And it becomes easier as we meditate. As we meditate, we kind of we work that muscle, we develop that skill of being present. And then someday you have the wonderful insight that, oh, no matter what's going on, when I get stressed or I start planning or I'm futurizing or I'm worrying about something, I can just I can just stop and be present. Just stop and be present, even for 30 seconds, and clarity happens. You have this clarity.
I think it's because when we're figuring it out, we're acting from like our ego self, and it's when we are in that other state that somehow things are clearer. We can see more clearly. and it just sort of falls away. It happens kind of naturally without us controlling it, doing it, making it happen, kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
interesting to notice.
That's a really profound insight, Mary. And yeah, we spend so much time in our heads, and until we start meditating, I don't think we even realize how much time we spend in our heads. And then and the other thing we do habitually is when we get stressed out or overwhelmed, we try to think our way out of it.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
we're thinking too much and we get overwhelmed. So what do? We think some more.
Yeah.
It's exactly the wrong thing to do.
Right.
But being present and just abiding in the moment is kind of a learned art, and you can't do it by intellectually. You can only do it.
Exactly. That, yes,
Yeah.
that is so well said. We can't do that intellectually. We just have to drop it and go into that other state of mind, I guess you might say, and that we can't even force that. We just have to sit, and then the more we sit, the more we become comfortable with that, or more acquainted with it, or more.
That's why we
Thank you.
meditate.
Well said. Thank you so much.
So we're near the end of our time, and I imagine Mary might have an announcement or two.
I do indeed, David. Thank you. So, this Saturday, we are having a half day long retreat with Howie, and it is going to be hybrid so that folks who are not in the Bay Area can attend, as well as those folks who are in the Bay Area. We would love to see you in person. It's called A Peace Offering, the Peace of Being Aware. And so I think it's a lovely, especially in the middle of the season, with everything that's involved, just to have a few hours just to settle in deeply and practice and be with Sangha. So hope to see you there. And then, as always, so much gratitude for David being here tonight. It's always lovely having him here. And so, if you wish to express your gratitude for David, for Mission Dharma, for Sangha, you can offer Dana. And so the ways to do that is on the screen here, and your generosity is always greatly appreciated. So thank you. All right, back to you, David.
Okay, let's just take a moment and offer the merit of our practice, recognizing that in the same way that we want to be free of suffering, and in the same way that we want to be more present and free in the world, that's what we wish for everybody. And so we wish that all beings be safe and protected from danger and harm. May they be healthy in body and mind. May they live with peace and ease. May they be free of suffering. May it be so.